Baby girl. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of Boxing Bananas brought to you by Fight Bananas. We have a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to be discussing the crazy fight that went down over the weekend with Conor, Benn, and Chris Eubank Jr., and then the upcoming fights on Friday and Saturday that are coming up with from Times Square and Saudi Arabia. So in the meantime, get ready.
Are you ready for the main event?
2 hits. They hitting you, you hitting the floor.
It's time for Boxing Bananas, brought to you by Fight Bananas.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. I am your host, Ray the Business. I'm joined by none other than my co-host, John the Professor. What's up, brother?
How we doing, sir? How we doing?
Bro, I'm doing great because what did we say on the last episode? We said I told you my excitement level was high for this fight. When they first booked it, it was low. Thought it was a cash grab. Then it went up magnitudes. And I said, for whatever reason, because there's actual bad blood in this, I think this fight is going to deliver. Now, let me ask you, and I'll let you take it away from here. Do you think the fight on Saturday delivered?
Because I believe I was more worried about it than you were from the last episode. I was more worried that there was going to be a gassing out, and the two of them, Conor Benn couldn't, bang for that long. He was too little. Eubanks only needed a box to be able to get a decision. It wasn't going to be anything. And then, like, as much as as I thought it would be, this surpassed everything that I thought it could be, and it truly lived up to the wars that their fathers had, and it was like a continuation of the generation of them fighting, and it was candidate in my eyes right now for fight of the year. I want to see a rematch. I'm glad. I hope they 100% invoke it right away. I think they did, if I'm not mistaken, but if they haven't, I'm sure they will. Let's do it again, and let's all sit back and enjoy the beautiful violence that was and is and should be happening again, because that was great. That was absolutely great.
Bro.
Oh, and kudos
it's one of
to
those.
Conor Benn's chin, because homeboy got smacked with some shit. And kudos to Eubanks, you too, but Eubanks is the bigger man. We kind of see that a little bit, more understanding when he got cracked. But Conor Benn, bro got a chin. Bro got a chin.
Bro, that fight. Hold up, let me throw up the little Eubank Jr. versus Benn. Where do I start? Okay, let's go off of what you said, right? Dude, all too often I hear people, especially from like old heads, they're like, man, I don't really watch boxing anymore. It's not like it used to be,
Am I considered an old head, or am I still not the old head anymore? Is 43 an old head?
I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean like the old heads? I know.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry.
You're creeping up to the border, but you're not quite there yet.
Hey, that's true. Okay.
No. You still, bro. As long as you can still crack, I think you're good. I think you're all right. But no, you know what I'm talking about. Like the older generation. everyone's like, oh man, boxing's not what it used to be. And the thing is like, I agree with them. There's a lot of times people
Well,
be like, oh, it's not like the old days, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, whatever. But with boxing, yeah, I do agree with them. But this fight, I mean, it was promoted on the backs of an old school fight, 90, 93, from when their fathers fought. And bro, it just, I don't know about you, but I felt like it had that old school feel to it.
oh, for sure. For
Like
sure.
no
You're
belt on the line,
exactly
didn't even matter. Like this is for
straight,
blood.
straight pride. This is a fighter's like fight. This is like what they both were like, yo, it's gonna go down. We're gonna do
Yeah,
whatever it is. It's
pure
like,
violence.
yeah, pure violence, pure just emotionally like it was boxing with like the fastest like the fastest twitch reaction speed to and then just pure power and will to continue on in certain situations and then just reset. Let's run that whole thing that we just did again. Let's do it again. And then we'll continue to do it until to see what it ends up to be. And it was beautiful. It was like, thank you. Like you said, thank you for bringing the old school back, bringing there's no belt on the line, 10-round war. Let's just go balls to the wall. And we actually hate each other. So let's just make it what it's supposed to be.
Fight was excellent.
Excellent.
The fight was a stupendous confectionery.
Yeah.
Bro, let me ask you this before because I kind of want to do some like tactical breakdown of it and see what you think about that. But how do you think each fighter held up? Considering Connor, you've already kind of touched on it a second ago. Connor moving up 2 weight classes and having the vast experience disadvantage. And with Eubank having the rehydration clause and obviously a draining weight cut as well.
I mean, I think they both held up tremendously. I think, when you when you weigh in, do you know how long they have after they weigh in? Once they get to the venue, they weigh in, and then how long they have like before they walk into the ring again?
As far as the rehydration,
Yeah, so like I
I
know when
want to
they
say
get
the
there,
rehy. I want to say and I might, dude. I literally might be pulling this out of my ass. I want to say that I heard this that somewhere that it was 8 a.m.
that they wake up and they have to get on the scale, and it's 8 a.m.
That's what I want to say that I heard.
Okay,
Again, I might have dreamt it. Who
I
knows?
might have dropped it.
In the meantime, while you kind of give your breakdown to my question, I'll see if I could pull something up.
Okay, so like I think that if that's the case, I feel like he still weighed in at a good little weight. It didn't look like 170 to me on walking into that ring and
For
everything
sure.
like that. So I think besides the draining weight cut, I think he truly was able to rehydrate enough and get back up to a healthy feel, even after wherever the rehydration was that they had to step in at. Does that say? Is that 8 a.m. British time, British Standard Time, or is that
Yeah,
8
which
p.m.?
is no 8 a.m. So it's just 8. Um, what's it called? 8 p.m. would be 20.
Okay. Oh, they do the
They do it
24
like
hour
that.
clock.
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
AM and PM, so it's just 8. And obviously they were fighting on British time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I was correct. I don't know where I heard that from, but
So yeah, man, like so he had another day to put on whatever he put on after that. You know what I'm
cuz
saying?
they fought, I mean by the time they fought, that's another like 16 hours.
Yeah, he was at
It's
least in the
just
80s.
it's just, people are like, "Oh, well 10 pounds is a lot." When you're putting back on the weight, 10 pounds isn't. You know what I mean? So it's like you
Yeah.
still kind of have to have yourself almost half to 60%, or I would say maybe 40% to half still dehydrated for another however long. Like, okay, so their first weigh in is at what? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, something like that, maybe. I don't know if they did a morning weigh in. with the time difference and everything, I
Yeah.
think that who knows? But then you just kind of have to go to sleep still a little bit dehydrated, and then you have another 16 hours to put on that weight. So he could have put on another 10 pounds
Oh
after
yeah,
that.
I definitely believe that. I feel like he was sitting around way closer to 180 than 170. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Oh, big time. I would put all the money on that.
yeah. So with that, and then the fact that, like we said, Conor Benn went up 2 weight classes and withstood all of what he withstood. I think they both held up tremendously, and it actually proved me wrong again because I didn't think their cardio could with the fight styles that had to happen and how the cut was working for Eubanks. I didn't believe that their cardios would keep up to the standard that it did. And
Yeah.
that that is just, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. They fought, they were absolutely 100% in shape, ready to go to the absolute peak to have a war like that
But
and
that's
to
a good
bang for.
wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. I'm
Yeah. Yeah. I'm cool
100%.
with being like, I would be cool with being wrong about that every day of the week.
Yeah. Oh well,
Twice on
100%.
Sunday.
If I doubt you and you win, I'll tell you, hey, yes, sir, you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I am because that made it exciting for us, and it gave us a hell of a fight and a show that we all were hoping would be that what it was, and I think it surpassed the majority of fans' expectations.
No, absolutely. Yeah, bro. It to what you're saying, especially Connor Benn's fighting style. Because this guy, you know how sometimes it's like, okay, let's say I'm, throwing 1, 2, 3. I'll throw 1, 2 at maybe, 40, 50%, maybe even 30%. But that 3 is when I'm throwing that one at like a 80, you know,
Yeah,
which is still kind of like 100, but you're just not really to load up on 100 is almost kind of foolish, I would say, in sometimes
yeah,
because if you miss it, there's too much of a you're putting yourself in a bad position.
yeah.
But let's say light, hard. This guy was just hard punch, hard punch, hard punch, hard
Oh yeah.
punch. That's
There,
like just his style. You know
yeah,
what I
there
mean?
was something behind the jab. There was something behind the two. There was something behind the body shot. There was something behind the head hook. There was the right hook, the left hook, the uppercut. There was something behind everything, and it was definitely looking like a fast twitch exertion that you would think would just be draining the way he punches. And yeah, no, he did it
I think it
for
did show in the championship rounds though. In 11 and 12, especially 12, you
yeah,
could tell he was pretty gassed. And that's like you said, he took some really hard shots, especially against the ropes, took some clean
yeah,
hooks where thank God Eubank for on his sake, for Connor's sake, thank God Eubank was, just as exhausted
yeah,
because had that had real steam on it, those were going to be flush shots, which I feel like even how flush that was, shout out to his chin because I feel like other people probably would have dropped from those shots because that was like one of
yeah.
those.
Like
He
and
took at least two of those clean.
oh, absolutely, 100%. And that was a round where you're like, if anybody's going to go down, that's when it's going to happen. And those were
Mhm,
the shots that would have made either one of them go down, right? And it happened to Connor, and Connor withstood it. You know what I mean? And
mhm.
that's a testament to, again, to his chin and his cardio and the amount of the shape that he put himself in and the work that he put in, outside the ring. And when you do that, everybody's happy because I think everybody's stock rose. I was wrong about that too. The needle has moved for both of them.
Mhm.
Didn't think that was going to happen. I'll be wrong about that all day long too. No problem with that. So good job, guys. Like you guys,
'Cause it's a good fight, bro. It's like
it is.
when you put on a
Yeah,
good fight like that, we're in a place in boxing now, which is I'm so happy about that it doesn't matter about these losses or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
when you put on a good fight. Now, if you put on a little bit of a snoozer, even if the fight has like a couple good spots in it, you could still, raise the stock. But even when you put on a good fight, like we brought it up several times, Trevor McCumbee, we want to see him fight again.
yep,
when he fights again, I'm going to be watching. I'm going to say,
Yep.
oh, I got to see Trevor McCumbee fight because
Yep.
he put on a good fight, even in a loss, even in a stoppage loss,
Yep.
put on a good fight. So I want to say, if my memory is correct, I think Conor Benn had Eubank a little bit wobbled in some of the earlier rounds, and then in maybe round 9 or 10, I was thinking like, bro, he could possibly even get a stoppage, and then he just kind of gassed out in those championship rounds. Now, who knows? Everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, it's because of the weight draining and the rehydration. Very much so. But let me ask you, as far as a tactic standpoint, I know that from what I saw, we saw Eubank in the beginning of the fight. Conor was just walking into that jab. He was eating that jab. He adjusted a little bit, was able to, not take it as flush. There were some things from Conor that I think, because I guess my real question is tactics wise, X's and O's. If we're running this back, what do you think Conor can do differently to be able to win and just perform better?
Well, first thing, get back in shape like you were this time. Like whatever you did to get your conditioning and whatever you did for that, that has to be top notch. And do that again. So don't change anything there. Um, Tactically, you're gonna have to not eat jabs in the first round. I don't care what anybody like in the first few rounds. I don't care what anybody says. If you get a guy confident and you start eating jabs, it takes away. It's gonna like chip away at you, more than you think. Especially if you consistently are kind of trying to walk through it, and you're running into it.
Especially if
It,
you're
it
fighting
also,
the biggest guy you've ever faced.
yeah, exactly. Let's get off the center line a little bit. Let's attack from different angles. Let's slip off, move right, move left a little bit. Let's get inside a little bit quicker. When we throw our overhands, when we throw our hooks, let's not exert so much. So maybe we can be a little bit quicker and put a little bit more together.
Hmm.
Then land the power out shot. You know what I mean? To get yourself out, turn an angle, reset, whatever you're trying to do, clinch. Throw those rather than throwing bombs into everything, because I think if you just would have dialed that, he could have dialed that back a few times in in a few of the middle rounds and weren't just just muscling. I hate to say muscling because it's just kind of his style, but exerting so much,
Hmm.
and learning how to dial it back just 20% before you throw that extra 80 to 90 that you want to throw on every punch.
Yeah.
You know, if you do that in the middle rounds, I think you have that um, energy level to compete in the 12th. You clearly have the chin to do it. Now you have the energy to throw bombs back when you need to, to just close out a fight. But getting off the center line, not being so immediately coming forward, walking into the jab, let's move a little bit of angles, but let's let's punch more with less power and finish with more power.
Hmm.
In my
Kind of
eyes,
what I
I
was
can't.
saying, a little bit lighter setup, because that's what I would have liked to see too. Okay, instead of starting, your three punch combo with heavy shot, heavy shot, heavy shot, maybe set it up with some boxing.
Yeah, well,
Set that up with
let's
some boxing. Boom, boom. Finish
boom, foot
with
move,
those.
bang, 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 and then we're out. You know what I mean?
Be a
And
little
then
more
press them
selective
forward again.
about that.
Yeah,
Because not only is it going to create more openings, but it's going to help you with your energy preservation for those 12 rounds, which I think, we saw really kind of hurt him in those last 2 rounds.
and the last, not saying he didn't go to the body, but the last thing I would say is invest in the big shots early. Let them be only to the body. Let every hard shot you're looking for be some open body shot. Like right, let's touch the head, but wreck the body in the first early round. Let's not go head hunting. Right,
Especially
let's
when you're dealing with,
a bigger
you know,
gentleman.
a bigger gentleman, because the body's going to be more easily accessible than
Yep,
somebody either your same height or shorter,
yep.
as well as you're dealing with somebody who obviously everybody saw had a tough weight cut, and then with the rehydration as well, you start attacking that body, it's like double XP.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah,
Compared to
exactly.
like a normal fight, body shots don't feel good, But if your body already went through something pretty traumatic and is like still trying to recover, when you're
Yeah.
ripping those body shots, especially with the like ferociousness, whatever the word is, that Conor Benn puts into every shot,
Yeah.
that I feel like is really going to help. Now, the other thing I think he was really missing from this fight was the rear uppercut.
Yeah.
There was a few times, especially like kind of the middle to like late middle rounds, where Eubank was literally like falling into him. And I think even the announcers were like, the uppercut's there, the uppercut's there. Rip that uppercut, bro. If you could rip that uppercut with the same amount that you're ripping these hooks, these over. And the other thing too is, so the uppercut and then throw a straight right.
Yeah.
Every single time he was throwing like the rear hook. And then
Yep.
what would happen is he would miss it because Eubank would, duck out of it and it would come here, or it would hit at the very end of it, at the end of that shot. Boom, like this. Or even try to do it, get him to start doing that, feint like you're going to go there, switch it up to the uppercut, because when you put that guy's head position here, now he could potentially even, you could double XP your uppercut because now you're getting forward momentum from the man's face, from, you know what I mean, his own shot.
Absolutely.
It's going to meet you there instead of you just hitting that still object. So I know that's easier said than done because you're doing it with the same hand, but you could almost do like a, like
Honestly,
you don't have to feint like this. You can almost even, like Bernard Hopkins would teach the rear feint where he would just flip over his glove
yeah.
and he
So,
would feint a right hand like that.
well, so what you're it's really funny you're saying that because that's actually one of the early combos I teach the kids so they learn how to double up their right hand because your
Mm,
right hand is kind of awkward to double up because it's such a power hand that you want to throw. Or if you're a southpaw, the same thing with your left hand. So what I always know him to do is what Eubank was setting himself up for. And what you're talking about was he was kind of leaning down like this on his jab. So when you flip that step slightly to your right. Since it's orthodox to orthodox, shoot that four up, you know what I mean? Bang. And then you pull back and you just kind of just throw it right hand right over the top as he's trying to bring his hand back after he overextends on that, the jab and puts his head there. So it's
yeah,
exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's a real quick move, but if you do that, and then like you said, he'll stop doing that. He'll pull back. You either have a right hand or he's going to lean farther, and then now you can wade into that uppercut because he's either going to pick one direction or the other. So you either feint either direction, and then one of them's open. And you don't
that's
have
what I'm
to,
saying.
like we said, you don't throw the hook. You go straight to it on this one. You know what I mean? Kind of like that Anthony Joshua Nagano right hand, coming right over the top rather than hooking around trying to get around the shoulder.
Yeah,
You go
because that's
straight
what he
over the
was
top.
doing every single time with that, and felt like he was missing it more than he was landing it, and it was
Yeah.
like, brother, like maybe switch it up and throw it straight. You mess him up, even just to move his glove over here to reset that. You know what I'm saying? So he's got to play around with it, but the key is, in order to kind of set that up, you have to take a little bit off of that shot. You can't throw an 80% shot and use it as a downloading the information shot.
Yeah. What I was hoping he was going to throw was off of that jab. He could just slip a little bit and actually bring that right hand right over the top at, like you said, 80%, but throw it straight. So as he rolls, he comes this way with it. So that leads him to his what I would call a lead uppercut of five, right? Right to the body. And that's where he could unload, more and more into that stance because he's kind of leaning into it. Now you're not head hunting. You're getting him to roll into that body shot for you. Double up on the hook, roll under again, whatever you feel like doing. Keep moving to that right angle. But I was thinking that was there, but instead, you know, Connor's Connor. And
Yeah, because that's the
he
thing
was,
too. Yeah, exactly
he
right,
was
Connor. When you it's a good point. Like we're talking about, it's kind of mixing the 2 points we've made into one. Where, okay, if somebody's overly slipped all the way into here, right? Guess what you're not doing? You're not moving.
yeah,
When you're here, I've never seen somebody at this much of it, because that's the way Eubank was slipping it all the way. The right hand was coming over. he would slip in all the way like this. At instead of here at this angle, it was all the way over here to get away from that. So when you're here, I've never seen somebody move around the ring at this angle. I don't know if you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
you're set
Mike Tyson was like the only dude that ever did it, right? But
for sure.
that's
Yeah,
it.
because
That's
he's
it. That's it. Yeah. No. And he's
yeah.
like 90
Well,
degrees and stuff. But besides him, no
mhm,
one else.
exactly. So he what's it called? When he's like that, okay, now rip it to the body. So maybe even throw this as your throwaway. Like, okay, this guy's thinking I'm gonna throw a huge shot over the top. You slip it as a throwaway, even turn with it. Boom, that 5 or even the 3 to the body or combination of the two. I like to call it a 45. Where
Yeah.
you're at that, it's like that shovel. You're at that 45.
Yep.
Boom, straight into the body, and you're either hitting the liver, or if you cut the angle, you'll hit right into the solar plex, that bread basket right there,
Yeah.
and that one is just gonna. I mean, if no one's ever been hit there, nothing zaps your energy more than something like that. I mean, besides the liver shot, but that's just a whole nervous system paralysis.
Yeah, the when
That
you
one's
get hit in the
cheapo.
diaphragm, whether you're in shape or not in shape, you feel that takes a little bit that energy bar goes down for sure every time
Mhm.
when you get hit there, and it does like you might have a really big energy bar. Some people might have a really small one, but when you have that one to the body, I tell you, a good chunk goes down, and it's not fun. Like when you
Yeah,
catch that flush.
that's a double XP shot right there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm
So
saying? So tactically, I would like to see those adjustments made. He can't just go back into the fight. I mean, he could because now he's going to have more experience. Hey, maybe this was a learning experience. I know how to box this with this guy now, and you go back into the same fight and try and fight the same fight, and you might have a different outcome just based off of the experience. Because this was a huge, not only a huge weight jump, but a huge experience jump for Conor Benn.
yeah,
And I think, I mean, he fought super well. I've been saying Eubank won, but dude, Chris fucked him up.
well,
I mean, Benn fucked up Chris.
yeah.
Like you saw his
Yeah.
face. His face was
So
real bad. And I even have this real quick that I want to show. I don't know if you saw this. Eubank discharged from hospital. Obviously, it was precautionary,
yeah,
but bro, his face afterwards. I wish I could play this highlight, but then we're gonna get flagged, and then the
yeah.
boxing bananas will be no longer. Um,
Hey, what did you have the score for it though?
oh man, I didn't even score it to be honest. I was we had went out for like my wife's friend's birthday over in Daytona, like on the beach.
Yeah,
And
I saw.
then by that point, we went to like the pool so we could grill. And I told her, I'm like, listen, you guys do the birthday thing. I'm over here. So I had it on my phone and I literally had the little stand up and I'm there like this, watching it like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then yeah, so I didn't necessarily score it, but that's a fight that's worth going back to watch and score.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know that I would have even scored it much differently. You know, I heard some people saying, "Oh, it should have been a draw," possibly, but I think
No.
Eubank had been missing a lot.
Yeah, I had Eubank up 2 rounds. That's what at the very most I had him up 2 rounds, and I thought he closed out in the championship rounds better.
Do
So,
they do a rematch? I think they should
oh,
give
100%.
Eubank a shot.
Who's Harlem Eubank? Am I lost here?
Who the hell is Harlem Eubank? Is that a typo? But
Is there a guy named Harlem that should fight Eubank?
there is, yeah. There's a guy named Harlem Eubank who's British.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, I want to see Conor Benn, Chris Eubank again. I don't want to see that. I want to
Eubank
see this.
versus Eubank.
No, I want to see Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. again.
He said that's his younger bro. Harlem is Chris's younger bro. Oh,
Oh,
okay. I'm
verse.
tripping.
Oh, so verse Conor then.
Versus Conor Benn.
That's what I get. That
Oh, and
what
he's a one. Look, he's a 147
7?
pound fighter.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Now I get it.
Man, if
Um,
it's 147 versus 147, bro, I'm going with Conor Benn, dude.
yeah, yeah, would
Because
say that
what
too.
for him to Harlem is Chris Younger, bro. Same weight class and height as Connor. Yeah, I think Connor
Yeah,
eats him up if that's the case. And he doesn't have the same experience, undefeated, I believe. Yeah, I think he was 21 and 0. 21 and 0, but 9 KOs. So
yeah,
I know that's not always like, the biggest marker for your power, but dude, if you don't have power against Connor Benn,
yeah. It's gonna be tough to keep him off you.
but like
Gonna
I
be
said,
real
bro,
tough.
for even though Conor Ben lost, I mean, he really, really messed up Chris Eubank's face. I
Yeah,
mean, if that was like a backyard fight with no like, oh, we're scoring rounds, and you were to just go off of damage, Connor had him cut up. His face was swollen like this. His face looked like a cantaloupe. But shout out to Chris Eubank. They're talking about, and I knew they were going to do this. They were going to talk about, trying to put him in the Canelo sweepstakes because they were trying to do that before, and I never liked
yeah,
that idea. But now with the notoriety and like how much memes were going on, that could be a possibility. Still don't like it, but if the 175 situation takes longer to play out because of David Benavidez, because of this trilogy that's going on, then if Canelo beats Crawford, obviously beats Skull, beats Crawford, and then needs an opponent for next May, and there's nobody available, I mean, you could do Chris Eubank, depending on how the rematch goes with Conor Benn. Now,
yeah.
final question on this one. Do you think that an immediate rematch is the appropriate thing to do, or is it, hey, let Ben try to go back to 47 or even 54, get a couple more fights, Eubank go fight whoever, just run it right back.
Well, let's go. It's Rocky Apollo Creed 2. We need to see it right away. They
Strike
need a
while the
rematch.
iron's hot, right?
Like that's what I'm saying, man. Let's go. You already want to talk trash. I'm sure Conor Benn's not happy about the decision. He messed up this man's face. He's like, look at me, look at you. You know what I'm saying? Let's go run this again. Let's get on the mics. Let's keep talking and get back to work. And let's do it one more time. Have the fight of the year twice in 1 year. Let's go.
How about that entrance with Eubank Jr. surprising everyone? The stadium erupted in cheer. I really like that, man. I
Yeah.
definitely really liked that. Ben should not go back to 147. Yeah, it's going to be tough. The thing is everyone's always like, "Oh, you can't go back after you go up." Ben
You
still
can go to
does have like a
154.
pretty I think he still does have a pretty small frame. You know what I mean? So it could happen, but still it's one of those where
I think 154 is way more realistic now than I thought.
yeah, I would say like two more fights at 54 and then kind of play it by ear. Okay, do we want to go to 47? Do I think my body can take it? Because the last
Yeah.
thing you want to do is drain back to 147 when you've been adjusted to, whatever diet and supplements he's been on
Yeah.
for his eggs, getting up to this weight. Ben's a big dude. Yeah. Um, but that being said, we'll see what happens. But perfect transition because we're talking about striking while the iron's hot, and that's something that I don't feel like is going on with this fight on Friday. Even though I'm not necessarily upset with it, I just would have preferred to see the immediate rematch with Garcia and Haney. What do you think?
I agree. I would rather saw that too, but they're trying to build, they had that, dynamic intro to all the fights, this weekend or whatever like that, you know what I mean? The little preview that they did, that was real cool. I think they're trying to rebuild the drama of it. They even flashed Devin Haney 32-0-0, you know what I mean? His record was on it, had it, I'm sure that was one of those things. Well, I want everybody to see my record, so it's saying
Yeah,
that, talking out my ass right now about that, but
his fake record.
yeah. So, but I feel like they're just trying to build it again, trying to get the momentum when I don't think they really need to, and they might be walking themselves into a mess up because Foley has power. He can knock people out. He boxed his last fight. When he fought. The last time I saw him when he fought on Canelo. Canelo's card versus Berlanga. Um, he was more of a boxer, and that one moved and stuff. So you could say he's trying to learn to do better that way. But he does have big power. He's athletic. So if he doesn't catch Ryan and knocks him out, or Ryan can get his left hook on him, I mean, it's one of those things where, damn,
Yeah, this one here, and they fought at 140.
yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those, man, where I agree. And the other thing too that people are kind of sleeping on is Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez.
yeah,
So Jose Ramirez, he lost to Barbosa Jr., who's obviously fighting on the undercard against Teofimo Lopez.
yeah,
But he's still, bro, he beat Barthélemy, he beat Comey, he beat Pedraza, which, I mean, these guys are kind of in the twilight. Tough fight against Josh Taylor. I mean, that was at this point 4 years ago, though. Can't believe it's
yeah,
been that long. But yeah, man. I don't think Ramirez is just like a walkover fight. That's a tough fight for Devin Haney.
yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's tough, but let's
We could have
go.
we
Let's
could
go
have
from.
Rolly Ramirez instead of Garcia Haney.
I know, dude. That'd be crazy. I mean, if they both lose, you might as well still run the fight.
Yeah,
But let's talk about this one. Let's talk about Teofimo versus Barbosa Jr. Obviously, let's see. So we got Arnold Barbosa, 32-0. He beat Ramirez. He beat Jack Catterall. This was a split decision, which is crazy because Jack Catterall, bro. Jack Catterall is the guy that, I mean, this guy should have been undisputed
yep,
with the Josh Taylor fight. And then, I mean, bro, hold on. Where's Jack Catterall? I'm tripping. So Jack Catterall, bro, after Josh Taylor, he had to fight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bro, 5 more fights and you still don't get a title shot? That's
yeah,
insane, bro. Absolutely insane that he had to fight all these fights. So I don't know what was going on, but Barbosa Jr., man, 32-0, beat with names on his record like Ramirez, Catterall, Pedraza. Pedraza, man, is just on everybody's resume at
yeah,
this point. But he's going up against a guy in Teofimo Lopez. I feel like Teofimo is the type of guy that he's either the best fighter in the world or he just walks in with no game plan.
yeah.
So, what are your thoughts?
I think he's sleeping on Barboza. I think a lot of people are, and I think Barboza can go in there and really, really put in some work with his style and how he likes to fight. And Teofimo Lopez is a very big puncher and athletic cat, but like you said, we've seen him come in as the best fighter you've ever, you watch, or he comes in as, hey, I'm a big puncher, but I have no idea what I'm going to do right now, though. I want to fight you.
Exactly. And it's
You
like
know what
I've
I
seen it
mean?
a couple times. I've seen him do that a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, like, or he gets caught early, and then game plan goes out the window. Confidence kind of gets shattered a little bit, and it kind of just, he got, by Cambosis, he got overhand right. After that, it was kind of the confidence wasn't really wholeheartedly there anymore. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
then
And
he
then,
says like there was like a hole in his lung or something.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
and then
So I
like,
don't know the validity to that, but
and
if
then
it's true, then
yeah, and then didn't he fight Jermaine Ortiz?
he fought Jermaine Ortiz. I was there. There was people literally walking out of the arena because of the
Yeah,
fight. But I feel like that was more Jermaine Ortiz, his style. But at the same time, Teofimo didn't do much to help. Like, obviously, he was the aggressor. So I was okay with them giving him the decision. But wasn't cutting off the ring, wasn't trying to do anything. Real quick, SG says Romero is a fun fight. There should be more promo, in my opinion. I feel like there's been a decent amount of promo, but part of it is they're still promoting this Ryan and Devin thing
Yeah,
in some of it as if they're fighting each other and they're not. So it's just weird.
yeah,
But that being said, with Teofimo, yeah, like you said, it's either he's like the best fighter in the world, like when he's turned up versus Lomachenko versus Josh Taylor, you're like, oh my god, dude, this guy is talented. He's something else. Or you see a fight like the Jermaine Ortiz fight, the Sandor Martin fight. Both of those fights, you could argue that he shouldn't have got the decision.
yeah.
But that's the thing. If he is sleeping on Barbosa, like you say, then it might be worth putting money down on Barbosa because that could be an upset. I don't know what the money line looks like, but that could be an upset.
Yeah. I just feel like like he's riding the high horse, the high camp. He keeps talking a lot. I mean, if he doesn't come out there and perform as like he's pressing to be, I feel like he's already looking past this, trying to get to whoever's next. You know what I mean? Like it just, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like he's locked in, and sometimes I feel like he's riding his ego. You know what I mean?
hmm Yeah, he's just go like his ego is his game plan.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't work hard. That's not what I'm saying. But like he either comes with a game plan or he comes in like you said. It's just my ego is going to take me over and win this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like just the guy is going to be ooh about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then when you look, since he lost to Cambosis, 5-fight win streak, but he has one TKO on the record. So it's not like it was before after he beat Lomachenko, where it was like TKO, decision, KO, 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 KO. And I don't think it's necessarily that the power isn't there. I just don't think he's setting up like using his boxing abilities to set up the shots. He's just
Yeah.
kind of like fallen in love with just going out there and trying to get that shot, and it doesn't really work like that. Kind of like what we talked about with Conor Benn.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, we got Haney versus Ramirez. We touched upon it a second ago, but obviously Devin Haney, 31-0, biggest dork in boxing. I would like to see him lose
Yes.
because I just don't like Devin Haney,
Me too.
but maybe him winning is better for the short term because then I heard that they're already talking about setting up Garcia versus Haney 2 for October. So even if Devin Haney wins, he can be, oh, I'm back, blah, blah, blah. Let him talk and just be a bigger dork. Let his dad get out there and do all of this and that and blah, blah, blah. Which shout out to the Ring Magazine, Turkey, and all of them. I feel like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like his dad at the beginning was really out there. And I don't know if it was the Edgar Berlanga thing. I don't know if you saw that. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, not Edgar
No,
Berlanga, Gabriel Rosado.
no, what happened?
So
I
they
can do
were on live together,
it.
and
Okay.
Gabriel Rosado just ripped into Bill Haney. Obviously, Bill Haney was trying to talk shit about Rosado because of his record and this and that, but everybody knows Rosado's like,
He's the man, bro. I got to interview him, and I never. Uh, I was a horrible interview because I was terrible at it, and I was nervous as hell. So, like, I never put it out there, right? But he
it's
is
in the
such a
archives somewhere.
yeah. It's like he's such a good guy though, and he fought everybody, bro. And he's such a warrior. I have the utmost absolute respect for Gabriel Rosado. Like he's the man.
For sure. And that's the thing with Rosado, bro. Rosado was like saying, like, bro, you went and sued this guy, but now you're a hoe. You guys are hoes for Ryan. How are you gonna sue this guy? And now you're on his undercard, like stuff like that. And it was tough, man. You know what I mean? I'm just repeating what he said. I'm not gonna go as far as to say it, but I will say that Devin Haney's the biggest dork in boxing. I will go
No,
that far. And his dad doesn't help it
absolutely.
at all. His dad
No,
makes it significantly worse
for
for
sure.
the counter argument.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah, like I mean, we've gone through quite a different number of examples on the show, but we don't have to relitigate it. But I think we're both in agreement on that one. But
I want to see
yeah,
him lose. I don't care about the setup for October. Anytime this guy gets in the ring, I just want to see him lose.
so even if he loses,
Give him Ryan again. I don't care. Let him lose again.
yeah, I just think it's one of those.
I'm rooting for the first guy to really start him, and I hate to say that.
I
He
think
doesn't
it's.
have to have
I
any
want it to
brain.
be Ryan though, dude.
I mean, I would like that too, but you know,
Let me ask you this though. So in their whole roundtable thing that they did, where Teofimo was clowning Devin, also that was bad. Um, further adding to the fuel of Devin's the biggest dork. Ryan had brought up, he goes, how did y'all know that I was gonna pop? I didn't take nothing. There was trace amounts, whatever. How did y'all know that that was gonna be there? Why is it that your brother is tweeting or posting on his Instagram story saying, "Oh, Ryan's gonna after the fight, Ryan's gonna pop for a banned substance. Ryan took something, this and that." How do y'all know? Because there was already the accusations of, okay, the VADA test. It's almost a conflict of interest with Victor Conti, with Devin being sponsored by Snack. Victor Conti's already, a tainted name in the business.
yep,
So I think there was a lot of questions with that, but it's just tough to prove. It's like, okay, we're talking about a grand conspiracy here, so it almost kind of gets into tinfoil hat land. But when you have Devin's brother sitting here, like, so let's say we do want to go down that route and explore that rabbit hole. Devin's brother's over here saying, "Oh, well, he's gonna pop." It's like, okay, wait a second. Did somebody like not have the leash tight enough on Devin's brother, and Devin's brother went and let the cat out of the bag a little too early out of
yeah,
emotion? Because a lot of the times when people are emotional, they don't think straight.
that's right.
So what at all are your thoughts on that whole
Oh,
possibility?
well, one, it's a tainted substance, right? Ever so as far as that goes, we're cool. We understand that, like it's been proven. Um, I definitely think there was some gameplay in it and everything like that. I definitely think there was some misinformation, maybe some wrong data that maybe it wasn't you know it, you know what I'm saying, just like some small tweaks in the data that should not have been there. Now there's something there, things like that, whatever. I definitely think there could have been. I don't put it past anybody that would have done that.
Because when
And
you
it
have
probably,
somebody as shady as Victor Conti,
yeah, that's
and
what I'm
and
saying.
what's
And like,
and the whole point of us bringing up, oh, well, this is a conflict of interest. Okay, well, why does that matter? What's the why? What makes you uncomfortable about the conflict of interest? It's because there's a potential for something like this to happen.
yes, yes, and that's why we bring it up when we talk about it, because it was a major conflict of interest. Why would you not, if you both agree to testing, why would you not pick somebody that's not associated with either fighter? It
Yeah,
just makes more sense that way.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, we don't. If me and you are suing or getting in a civil defense or whatever it is you want to call it, in a lawsuit, I don't just go to your lawyer to settle this.
Hmm.
Like, because that guy's representing you. Like, you're going to take me for whatever it is, you're going to win. We have two people that and then somebody mitigates it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I'm going to go to your side and yeah, I'll just do what you do. No, all right. If we both agree on something, we should go to a mid, a by, was it a non, you know what I'm saying?
Nonpartisan
There you
judge
go. A nonpartisan judge.
where it's the matter's litigated in the courts. Um,
Exactly. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly, and that's where it is a conflict of interest. And for those, I still see that there's a ton of people, and I feel like a lot of them are biased. I see some other shows that are, friends with the Haneys that are just really on the whole, oh, well, he popped and he cheated and this and that. And it's like, here's the one thing I said, and I will say again. probably the number one guy in this whole arena of drug testing and all of that is Jeff Nowitzki.
Yeah.
Jeff Nowitzki. People that know UFC, Fight Bananas people will probably know who I'm talking about. They called him the Golden Snitch. He caught so many people.
We've
Um,
talked about him on here multiple times.
yeah, I physically in person
Mhm.
saw Jeff Nowitzki at the Midtown Hilton in New York before UFC 309, and we both got coffee at the same time. We were right at the coffee thing, mixing our sugars. I was just like, "Hey, you're Jeff, right?" He's like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And I just first thing blurted out of my mouth, "Hey, so you think Ryan Garcia cheated or no?" He said, "Oh, absolutely not. It was I looked at the tests myself. I looked at everything myself. It has I talked to the lab." He said this guy, it wasn't like, "Oh, I just heard from somebody." He said, "I looked at it myself and it has because he's seen this so many times."
Yeah.
In boxing, we don't see it as often, but in UFC, it's like it's gotten to the point where there's so many tainted supplements that happen now that they don't even announce it anymore
Yep. Yep.
to mess stuff up, and then they figure out on the back end, okay, what was going on, and then they figure it out behind the scenes because it's happened so many times.
Oh yeah.
So Jeff said straight up to me, and then we went to the elevator. We were talking in the elevator for a bit, and he went to like full nerd mode, which I actually really appreciated. And I was like, "Oh, this guy really likes what he does."
Yeah.
So that was cool, and that was pretty much like I already kind of knew, when you kind of know in your gut
Yeah.
that hey, this is what it looks like because we've seen it on the UFC side, the MMA side. For a guy like him, probably the best guy to talk to about it to validate that as well. It just is what it is. Nobody can give me a counter argument. Nobody can yell and scream and blah blah blah. You cheated, this and that, to the point where you're none of these boxing dorks are gonna sit here and tell me that you know more than that guy. It's not even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it is what it is. So at worst or at best, it was a tainted supplement. At worst, there was something much more nefarious
Yes.
that went on with it. And the other thing to kind of just piggyback off of that is that Devin Haney, as much as he wants to seem like he's this nice kid, is not an innocent man. He cheated against Regis Prograis the day of the weigh-ins. He wasn't supposed to weigh in. Oh, talking about blah blah blah. And then even for this fight, I don't know if you heard, and maybe I
Uh-uh.
made this up, but I'm pretty sure I saw that they had to adjust the fight. I think this fight doesn't say it here, but I'm pretty sure they had to put this fight at a catch weight now as well because Devin Haney came back and was like, "Hey, I'm not going to make the weight," so they had to renegotiate the weight. Did you hear about this?
No, not at all. That's
So
funny as
now,
hell.
Mister, oh, somebody can't make weight. Now he can't make weight all of a sudden.
Now
But
147.
I think they're making it a fight at 147 or like a catch weight of like 43 or 45 or something like that because he wasn't able to make the original weight. But I guess they caught it like 2 weeks, week and a half in advance, and then just came in and was like, "Hey, here's the situation. Here's what we got to do." And of course, you got to do it like that. But then it's kind of behind the scenes. They don't really run the articles on it, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I said, he cheated against Prograis, but that's a day of and behind the scenes. So guess what? It doesn't get the coverage it deserves.
Yep.
And against WBC rules, WBC really should have stepped in and been like, "Hey, listen, if you guys want to settle this and fight, cool, but you're going to be stripped of your title." That
Yeah.
really should have been the best thing. But does WBC operate on the strongest morality in the business?
Does
Yeah,
any
I'll
of
let.
the alphabet, companies do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
I would say maybe IBF to a fault
yeah.
because they just freaking strip people and shit. And then on top of that, there's the rumors that Devin Haney lost one of his fights back in Mexico, but because they were fighting, literally, hold on, let me show this. Literally, if you look back here, we're talking about he's fighting at like Escape Bar in Tijuana. You're telling me that you're fighting at a bar in Tijuana, and if you lose the fight, how easy is it to just be like behind the scenes, like, hey, because the rumor is that they paid for them to not submit it into BoxRec.
Oh, wow.
You never heard that?
No. We've talked about it before. I'm just like you're rehashing it for me. I always forget. I forgot about it, but we definitely
But tell
talked
me
about it
not. How
before.
easy is it? How easy
Oh,
is
you
it to just
can
be
for
like,
sure.
oh yeah, don't submit it into box rec? Imagine you have a fight
Oh
in
yeah.
Mexico, a fight in Colombia, something like that, Brazil. Hey,
Enough money passed around. It's not gonna matter.
and this kid had money behind him.
Yeah.
So, there's that. There's the Regis Prograis thing. Um, the whole Lomachenko fight. Who knows what happened with that? This kid,
I'm gonna be
this
on
isn't
record. He
a
lost that fight. He lost the fight. That's what happened. He lost that damn fight. That's what he did. He didn't lose it, but he lost it. That's all I said
Lomachenko,
about that. Oh yes, I'm gonna go down on my grave on that one. I don't care what anybody says. He lost that damn fight.
bro. I had people messaging me like saying like I'm never gonna watch boxing again.
Like,
It was like it reminded me of Bradley Pacquiao from 2012.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So that being said, this kid isn't a squeaky clean kid. He's a dork. His dad is an embarrassment, and
Um, abysmal.
yeah, horrible. And he got his ass whooping, but then Teofimo's clowning him. He's like, "Oh, I still got my O. Do you?" It's like, brother, don't even say that because everybody knows that's a fake O on your record, brother.
Yeah.
But I think that's enough bashing of Devin Haney. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can move on.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about this again. I know we touched up on it a little bit. Ryan Garcia, 24-1, really should be 25-1.
Yeah.
And obviously the one loss was Gervonta Davis. Gervonta fought the skeleton of Ryan Garcia. So even though it's a loss, I don't really, take too much
Yeah.
away from him. This fight's going to be at 147 for the WBA regular, regular title. Stupid. The WBA should be immediately stripped of their recognition of world title status because they were already threatened. Blah blah blah. I could go down that whole thing. So that's stupid. But yeah, so here we are with this Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. I'll tell you what, even though we both agree that it should be Ryan versus Haney too, this as the next option, I'm totally okay with, and I'm actually
I am
excited for
too.
this fight.
I, I am too. I am too. But like we talked about earlier, like it's just one of those where it could upset the outcome of what's happening. Say Haney wins, Garcia loses. Garcia wins, Haney loses. You know what I mean? Things like that. You're kind of just messing up that when I feel like you should have just go ahead and did it. But like again, very excited for this. I think this is going to be a good fight. I think Ryan wins it. I think he does end up catching Rolly. You know what I mean? But I think it's going to be a good solid fight. In the first 6 rounds, and then 7, 8. I think Ryan gets him.
Yeah, because this is one of those where if we look at Romero's record, he lost to Gervonta Davis, and then he beat Ismael Barroso, who's like 40 years old. But that was like that stoppage with Tony Weeks that was horrible. And
Yeah.
I mean, this was a fight that probably he should have lost as well. So essentially, he should have had 3 losses in a row. He won a
Yeah.
WBA world title off of this, immediately lost it to Isak Cruz. Because when they booked that Isak Cruz fight, I was like, look, Isak Cruz isn't a 140-pound fighter, but
Oh yeah.
he's gonna stop Romero because it's
Yeah.
just Romero's style. Like he's got power and he's tough. And I know that him and Ryan sparred in the past, but he does have a lot of holes in his
Oh yeah.
game. He leaves himself open, and I feel like that feeds right into Ryan Garcia's power
Yeah. I think he can catch him with the left hook before that big overhand right or right hook lands.
for sure. And then here's the other thing too. Compared to the Devin Haney fight, Ryan was saying like, "Bro, I didn't even really train for that fight," and I feel like he didn't, bro. Because when you watch that fight back, obviously a lot of people remember the highlights, and the highlights were great. But
Yeah.
in between those highlights, that fight wasn't really that good. In between the highlights, it had a lot of drama, and that's what made the fight good. Was the dramatic instances, the knockdowns that should have been scored. I mean, there should have been 6 knockdowns in that fight.
Yeah.
When there was 3 officially, and other than that, Ryan was like not really fighting. He was kind of like ducking away. It was really weird. When he says I wasn't really training, and especially with all the antics that were going on, I believe him. What about
Yeah,
you?
I think so too. I think like there wasn't a lot. I think he just knew that he could get him, and I think it kind of worked out in his favor that way.
Yeah.
Or like, it doesn't always work out that way in the in the fight world, but it worked out that way in this instance. And I really do think that was kind of near the truth. It's like it's or if he was training, he wasn't training with an idea of a strategy or any type of idea of how to like go about beating Devin Haney. He just knew he was going to hit him with a left hook, whatever he
Mhm.
had to do, and that was going to land before Devin Haney hurt him. You know what I mean? In any kind of way. I think in that instance, you're not really training either. You're getting in shape to be able to do the rounds, but you're not really doing the work in as like I'm trying to like set up everything to beat you. I just know I'm gonna land my money shot. I know I'm gonna land it. I don't really care. I don't land it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Ryan Garcia's most recent training footage.
Mm,
Um let's see if I can pull this up. His most recent training footage, bro. Let's see.
Little Giant Boxing.
He was training with Eddie Reynoso. I think he's also back with Derek James because obviously Reynoso's going to Saudi Arabia
yeah.
for the Canelo fight, so he can't be in his corner. But even on the pads with Derek James, bro, he looked so much sharper. Let me turn this down a little bit. He looked so much sharper. He looked like he was actually like I had saw him hitting the pads was with Derek James before the Haney fight, and he was just kind
Yeah.
of doing whatever he wanted. And even Derek James's face was like, "Bro, what the hell is this kid doing?" And
Well,
then now in this fight, I mean, they're hitting the pads, and Ryan looks locked in. He seems in a much better like mental place. I think maybe the suspension was a good thing for him,
yeah.
and we might see like a even better version of Ryan Garcia. I mean, I know this is just training footage,
No, he's
but
looking crisp. He's looking thick too.
yeah,
Like healthy. He's looking
compared to what
healthy.
we saw as the training footage before the Haney fight, I mean, I feel like this is night and day.
Yeah, he's looking healthy.
Exactly. So yeah, and he is looking thick also.
Yeah.
So
That's what I mean. I feel like he's in the top of fight camp right there. You know what I mean? Like before he's getting ready to make his cut to where he needs to be. He's looking solid.
looking solid, yeah. But yeah, man, that being said, I would like to see a big spectacular win from Garcia. I feel like I said, Romero kind of has that style that Garcia can exploit, especially with that really quick, fast left hook.
Yeah.
And I think that would really hype it up. I'd like to see Haney win like a split decision just to still kind of be like, you still suck, but it still keeps the fight together. And then this time, October, me and you were talking about how Garcia just went out there and absolutely obliterated Devin Haney and embarrassed him and possibly
Yeah.
even knocked him out cold. That's what I would love nothing more.
No, that would be great. I mean, I'm riding with that too. But if Jose Ramirez gets to him first, go, go. I would be cheering it all day.
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
hater, and if you want to call me a Devin Haney hater, I'm good with that too.
I'm fine with that as well. You're not going to hear any pushback from me. I think we're on the same boat as that one. But just for the sake of the rematch, I don't want it to like I don't know spoil it a little bit. Even though I mean I still feel like with a loss you could still make the rematch. But then you do still kind of need that casual audience. People are gonna be like, "Oh, well, Haney lost," so. But still, it's like it's one of those now where it's similar to what we were saying about Ben versus Eubank. Ben versus Eubank at first was like, okay, this is like about their dads, but afterwards it turned into, hey, these guys really have beef. There's a storyline here. This needs to be settled in the ring with a proper fight. And Haney versus Garcia versus Haney 2 I feel like has the same thing. So even if Haney loses, it's still like, yo, you still got to go. You still got to go get that whooping from Garcia. You can't not get the whooping from Garcia because you lost to Ramirez. You can't go, oh, well, actually, we're going to rematch Ramirez instead because we need to get that first, which I could see his team doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then something I didn't bring up. Let me ask you this: the fact that Garcia versus Haney 2 isn't happening right now, is that just boxing promotion being boxing promotion, or do you think that Haney's team had something to do with that?
No, I think it's boxing promotion being boxing promotion more than anything. I also think that Haney's team probably was adamant about Ryan Garcia fighting another fight first, before they fought each other. And they think that they're going to beat Jose Ramirez probably handedly or whatever. So I'm sure that was in their mind when everything was getting set up and essentially buying their time to be the main event, where they're not the main event in this one. You know what I mean? Kind of just going along with it because they're kind of getting what they want in the sense of Garcia's got to do all the right things again and get back in the ring and everything like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's boxing and promotion wanting to get the cash grab twice, as much money as they can, build a fight more, make money off another, whole other card with it. Now you have the storyline of Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia for the whole entire year. So you're going to make, you got two money makers right there.
It up, marinated.
Yeah. And then because Devin Haney and them, I think probably generally, like I said, wanted Ryan Garcia to fight something first before they kind of just bided their way along with it so they can go get their biggest payday that they're ever going to get again in the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. I bring that up because I wouldn't be surprised because Devin Haney and his team and his dad like to be like, oh yeah, we're this and that, blah blah blah. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, hey, we want one before that rematch.
Yeah,
we need to because they know deep down they know
yeah.
They need to build Devin's confidence back. They need to do all of that. He wants to say, oh, I still have my O. He's shook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why even in the little round table, like he wasn't really mouthing off to he couldn't really mouth off to anybody. He was trying to mouth off to Teofimo. Teofimo freaking embarrassed him. Ryan, he tried to mouth off to Ryan a little bit. Ryan was like, bro, your brother freaking spilled the beans. Yeah. So that being said, before we go, let's do this. Teofimo versus Barboza, who you got? Let's say you have to put down a parlay right now. You got $100.
I'm gonna go Barboza.
Haney
I'm gonna go Ramirez because there's no way you're ever gonna get me to bet on Haney, and I'm gonna go Garcia. Because I would rather make the big money than make the small money. So I'm gonna gamble it that way. And if you're telling me you're giving me 100 to do it, I'm cool with that.
I might even put in a little parlay for you on that. Just cause. So, all right, brother. Well, I think that's it. We could talk about Saturday's fight, but I think we'd be here for like another hour because that card is looking solid. This Thursday, I won't be available for a show. I'll be in Tampa.
Right.
And I might be able to hop on, maybe in the middle of the day Saturday, right before the fight. Okay. Let me know if you're available. If not, I might even just do a little solo dolo.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'll let you know. If you do that, let me know with the plan, and then I'll make sure to definitely make an appearance.
Absolutely. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in again. And until next time, peace.
Are you ready for the main event?
2 hits. They hitting you, you hitting the floor.
It's time for Boxing Bananas, brought to you by Fight Bananas.
Word, bro.